Senior Report thanks Edmund Besch of Bristol Burgess Insurance Agency, 65 East Main Street, Westfield, for his generous grant to provide news to seniors. Funding is provided by a grant from New York State Senator Catherine M. Young, representing Western New York's 57th District with a local office in Olean. Funding for Senior Report is provided in part by a grant from Andrew Goodell, Assemblyman for the 150th District of the New York State Assembly. Dave Cass and Rick Newell provide funding on behalf of the Lakeview Hotel and Restaurant at the Docks, located on Water Street near the lake in Mayville. Senior Report with Reed Powers thanks Westfield's Schultz Chevy for a generous grant to inform seniors of important news. Over 50 years of service to Westfield by Chevrolet, Schultz Chevy across from the school. The physicians of Jamestown Primary Care are happy to sponsor the Senior Report. From the Access Channel 5 television studio in Mayville, it's Senior Report with Reed Powers. Senior Report is broadcast live throughout northern Chautauqua County on Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. each week. Call in and share a thought, make a comment, ask a question, or simply wish someone a happy birthday on Chautauqua County's only live call-in senior program. Since 1995, Reed has been bringing viewers hundreds of interesting guests, informing the community on a variety of subjects. Here's the host of the show, Reed Powers.
And good morning. What a beautiful day we have in Chautauqua County. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of rain. The earth has been rather parched, and I suspect we're going to have a grape harvest this year that's going to overwhelm us. It's going to be, there's more grapes you shake a stick at. And the Chinese love those grapes, incidentally, Concords. Yeah, they love grape juice, and so they've been putting in their millions of acres of Concords themselves. But the best Concords come from Chautauqua County, the heart of the grape belt, right here in Westfield and Mayville. I want to say that we've had a wonderful week in the news. No news to speak of out of Washington. The only news is the Trayvon Martin killing by Zimmerman, and there's huge difference of opinion as to whether he should have shot the guy or whether he should have just walked away. Who knows? Either one could have walked away, but it's a terrible tragedy. My heart certainly goes out to the family of that young man. They keep calling him a child, but actually he was 17. He was, I think they report him at 6'2" and 190 pounds. So he was certainly a tussle for Zimmerman, I know that. Zimmerman thought he was going to kill him, so shot him. But at any rate, don't carry guns around with you. You'll wind up shooting kids. I want to say we're going to have a great guest on. We've got Mike Ricketts. And Mike Ricketts used to be my partner. We made pancakes on Election Day in Westfield. And we fed everybody in Westfield pancakes, and Mike and I made most of the pancakes. And that was a tradition. And the Masons ran the dinner. And it was a lot of fun for everybody. And I got to see everybody in Westfield who was running for office anyway. All right, so Mike is going to talk about Habitat for Humanity, which is a very important, wonderful gift to the county and to the people out there who need housing. And we'll talk about that in a very short while. So anyway, in Washington, the only thing I hear much about is student loans. And of course, yesterday, the president spoke out about the kid in Zimmerman, and he pointed out that there's still a lot of prejudice in this country, and it might have something to do with racism, who knows. The NAACP wants to take him up and run another trial on racism, but we'll see what happens. SAFE Act is still safe. I see signs everywhere upstate because the downstate basically controls the legislature, and they decided to take away a lot of our guns and violate the First Amendment, violate the charter amendments of the state of New York. They whipped this thing through one night without any public comment, without anything. Nobody knew what it was. Andy Goodell tells me, you know how many murders were committed in New York State, New York City anyway, with long arms? This is a long arm law. 0. The downstaters just are afraid of us. All right, so they took away our guns, a lot of them, and you can't even buy ammunition without the background check, and you can't buy a box of ammunition for your shotgun, for Pete's sake. Give me a break. If this isn't a violation of the First Amendment to right to bear arms, well, you can have all the arms you want, but we're going to make it very hard to get ammunition. God help us. Oh, Lordy. Incidentally, both of our legislators, Andy Goodell and our state senator, Kathy Young, voted against that law, and Kathy's trying to get it reversed. But it's pretty hard to do when you've got everybody who's important in the legislature comes from downstate New York, the New York metropolitan area. So what are we going to do? Well, we could get New York to secede. New York City. I want to thank some special people who helped Senior Report out. Fredonia Place is giving us a grant, and very kindly. They have a senior facility over there, and it's reportedly pretty good. The Geezers over there, remember Mort Flexer? I want to thank the Lakeview Diner for a wonderful dinner. You know, the Lakeview has 2 restaurants. They have a fish restaurant of sorts, which is Doc's or Valentino's or whatever it changes to, and they have the Lakeview side, which has a hotel there, I might add. If you load up some night over there, you can spend the night there. You don't have to drive home. And they have a fish dinner that's outrageous. It flops all over your plate. They have a roast beef dinner. You buy the big roast beef, the queen size. They don't have a king size because it would kill you. But the queen size, you always have to ask for a box to take some of it home. You can't eat the whole thing. Wonderful dinners there. And they have a salad bar that kills, I'll tell you. It has everything you ever dreamed of in a salad bar. I want to thank certain people, my new neighbors, the Sandersons, for their kindness in taking care of a problem we had over there. And I want to thank the village of Westfield for its wonderful services. They are doing a super job over there. All right, enough stuff said there. I do have some senior stuff right here, and they included a Irish joke, which I'll tell you. Dunkirk Senior has a very active group. They meet in a big old building. They have a running circle in there in the winter. It's just nice. Barbara Badges is the Dunkirk Senior Citizens Director of the board, and Carol Kozlowski tells us that August 9th, don't miss the Midway State Park annual picnic. August 9th. It's fun, it's cheap, all the chicken you can eat and sides of everything, and it's just a great, wonderful, huge senior party in the county. That's over in Midway, August 9th. And I want to thank Spitzer. One of the nice things the governors have been doing for New York, and all the way from Guam on through, is they've been helping us out with state parks. They bought that out. It could have been just a big condominium center. Now it's a still beautiful state park. Rides, the kids go over there, have the greatest time. Get an annual ticket for peanuts. It's a terrific deal. They met with Senator Young and Goodell and Mayor Dulce and arranged all kinds of wonderful things. Their seniors are going to get a lot of information at the public information hearing. The Public Service Commission is going to be talking and has talked regarding NRG. NRG, it looks like it's in trouble. We'll put it that way, because the state board of something or other came out against using it. They're going to just go right around it. And of course, it takes, I think, $300 million or $3 billion or some huge amount of money to put in the connections to move the electricity around. That's the heck of it. They don't have the power lines. All right, whatever. Now let's see what else we got here. They're putting in some air conditioners over there. Boy, we need them today, don't we? Woo! We've had some heat. This has been heat. Nancy Crandall did some, we're now talking about the gala and other things. She did some necessary sewing, and it doesn't say what she sewed. Next Sunday gala, September 8th, menu will be decided upon by the cook. Okay. Tickets will go on sale August 5th. Big Bingo is coming in again August 14th, October 8th, and November 20th. It's a huge thing, a lot of money, a great time. And they're having a towel bingo game September 18th. What is a towel bingo game? I guess you just wear a towel. Oh, well. Flower pot project is underway over there. 8-foot tables being purchased. They paint flower pots and then put a plant in them and sell them. It's a great idea. Looking for Halloween favors coming up, and July and August trips are sold out over there. I'm telling you, if you belong to the center, you've had a problem here at the Dunkirk Senior Center. You can't get a trip now. The trips are always great, though, and they're very inexpensive. They're going to go on August trips, but as they say, they're sold out. But on September 25th, there's a trip to Niagara Falls, Seneca Casino. It'll cost you money, though, $2. And you will receive a $20 free play bonus and a $5 food voucher. That's what you always get. So it's basically a good deal. Just don't gamble, whatever you do. Spend your money, your voucher, and your chips, and then go. Win or lose. Get out of there. Or hold on to your shirt. They're going to have health fair over there, and it'll be open to all profit, non-profit agencies. I guess that includes everybody. And when you're interested in the health fair, go on and call Bodges, 366-7530. You can sell things, whatever you want. Great Belt Seniors, big bunch of people over here, very, very active. They're going to see a mystery comedy on Sherlock Holmes. And they'll have a big luncheon and everything's great. The bus leaves for peanuts. Next casino trip, August 26th, and it'll go to Seneca, Allegheny. It's wonderful how all the Indians have these wonderful casinos. And they give us some money, too. They've been a little cheap about it lately, but after settling some quibbles with the state, they're turning it over again. Going to Montreal and Quebec on a trip if you're interested. And Wednesday, they're going to attend the Town of Pomfret Board meeting, August 14th. And they'll share some of the activities that take place over there. They're going to have a special kazoo performance on July. Oh, that's already gone. Woo! Okay, kazoo. Use your comb and a little tissue, right? Silver Creek, Mount Carmel, big group over there. They're going to have a big luncheon. I won't go into great detail. Their guest will be Father Dan Fibblecorn, who will offer grace at the next meeting. And then the next club meeting will be August 7th, and Carm and Ray Watman will do the honors. People serve the coffee and the cake and everything. That's the most important part of the meeting. Oh, well, not really. The bingo at the end of the meeting. Silver Creek Seniors, another group over there. They have their own clubhouse, which they manage. Ed Newman is the president. And they have a new member over there. And I want to say hats off and congratulations and welcome, Pat Corwin. Their next meeting coming up July 23. Bud Anger and Mohart will be doing the honors then. And they tell me my news time is all up. I'm finished. It's time to hear from John. And that's Doc. He shoots from the hip, if you remember. Here you go. I got a public service announcement for you. This is yours. I think. This has to do with John. Fascinating public service announcement.
Okay, well, we'll see if you can cue that up, and if you guys do, let me know.
You are going to be talking about soap and
I might.
and all those things. Okay.
Well, Rita, good morning, Mike. I should say hello to you, Mike, and good morning, everyone. Wow, what a storm last night, huh?
Woo, woo. And the heat.
The heat is gone, thank goodness.
But
wow.
the lightning flashing around, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa.
I don't know about your dog or cat, but no way, they don't want anything to do with it. Okay, well, for those of you watched last week, I wanted to do a little recap real quick because I'm doing a little 3-part series. It's a really cool senior story. All right, last week my story started in 1933 in Dayton, Ohio. A guy named Myron Scott, a news reporter for the Gazette over there, saw some kids putting together these kind of downhill racing car type things. And one thing led to another, and he created something called the Soapbox Derby. In the following year, this all caught on, and okay, let's have a little look. We're taking now to 1934. Do we have sound on that?
Yeah. I'm getting it.
Oh, you're getting it. Good.
It's Soapbox Derby Day in Dayton, Ohio. Thousands lined Dayton streets to see the mammoth street parade which opened the 2-day meet. Boy drivers from over 34 different cities joined with 400 Dayton boys in their home-built cars to thrill the holiday crowd. The enthusiasm created by visiting champions has never been equaled in Dayton and vicinity. People for miles around thronged into Dayton to get a glimpse of the boys on parade. Boys who had traveled miles to vie for honors in the first National Soapbox Derby. Bands blared forth. Floats and organizations moved in the novel parade which preceded the starter's gun at Soapbox Derby Down. Look at those cars. Over 400 of them. No two of them alike. Each boy having designed and built his own racer and secured his mechanic, who in the parade afforded the motive power for his driver. Each boy was given a helmet, and the visiting champions were given white sweaters to assure them of distinction and glory. 65,000 people jammed Soapbox Derby Downs on Burkhart Hill to watch the sectional champions fight it out for national honors. This aerial view gives a comprehensive idea of the magnitude of this first annual Soapbox event.
And that's where my story now continues. 1934. Depending on what your age bracket was, there was 3 age brackets that year, and this is the first time they ever had a sanctioned Soapbox Derby contest race. And as you saw, 65,000 people showed up in Dayton, Ohio. Well, my story goes back to Buffalo, New York, and a little fellow named Jack and his big brother Eddie, who was his pit crew, I suppose, and mechanic, and helped design his race car. Well, these two fellas, as I told last week, they won the Buffalo contest, and so Jack was the local champ, and all these newspapers across the country had sponsored these kinds of things, and in this particular age group, there was 34 winners from across the country. 1933, 1934, still in the throes of the Depression, Reed, and there wasn't a whole lot going on, and so this whole concept was to spur, some kind of excitement in the country, to kind of have people get excited about, America again, and Chevrolet and the tire companies got involved and so forth. So they sponsored this first All-American Soapbox Derby. In discussion and research, I found out that most of these racers that year, they made their cars out of things like orange crates, cardboard, baby buggy tires, parts that they got at the scrap heap and so forth. There was no regulations on how their cars would be designed and so forth, and that's all changed now, of course. And so they had a great time, and they were only to build up them themselves. They could not have anybody help them. They were supposed to be supervised by an adult. So Jack and Eddie, they're the local team that is representing Buffalo, New York. They go to Dayton, Ohio. They have never left the city other than maybe to go to Niagara Falls. They're pretty poor kids living on the west side of Buffalo. They get in a car with the news reporter from the Courier Express, who is the sponsor, and they drive to Dayton, Ohio. And Dayton, Ohio is still a hike even today. I'd say it's probably about 3-4 hours from here. So it was a good day's ride for these guys. Well, anyways, you saw 65,000 people. Jack and his sidekick, Eddie, they I believe, ran 7 heats. They were doing very well. And then sort of towards the latter part of the race, Jack gets into, I think it's the outer lane, and for some reason his car goes askew, crashes, and is scooped up by the World War I flying ace, Colonel Roscoe Turner. I never heard of the guy, but he looks like Errol Flynn, and he scoops Jack up, takes him to the first aid station, and makes sure he's all right. And it turns out Jack's okay, but when he was ready to get back into the race, car didn't make it. Jack then went on to race in 1935, 1936 in Buffalo, but never got back to the big show at the Soapbox Derby. In 1935, the whole race was moved to Akron, Ohio, which was really hurting, sort of like Detroit is right now, where they needed to have something really big happen. And so they promised the Soapbox Derby Commission that they would build a permanent track. And to this day, and it's going to be running here soon, you're going to see in the news, I'm sure, the Soapbox Derby has been run for the last 76 years, other than in the World War II. So anyways, that's where I'm going to leave my story for this week. And I'll tell you the rest of the story next week. Stay tuned.
Okay, thank you very much. Will be listening with great interest, and you mentioned Detroit being in trouble. Can you imagine a city going bankrupt? Yeah, Detroit declared bankruptcy.
Well, the governor said it was been coming for 60 years. I guess 60 years ago bankrupt, it's like you would have thought they would have done something by now.
Yeah, they would have worked out a program. I got a joke.
All right, back to you.
I got a joke for you anyway. Into a Belfast pub comes Paddy Murphy, and he looks like a train ran over him. Broken arm, broken leg. He's walking with a limp, face all chewed up, and what a mess. And what happened to you? Asked Sean, the bartender over there. He says, well, they had a little fight with Jamie O'Connor. And Jamie O'Connor and me just took off on each other. Well, that little rotter, O'Connor, says Sean, he couldn't do that to you. He must have had something in his hand. He said, yeah, he had a big shovel. That's what he had. Well, you should have defended yourself. Didn't you have something in your hand? He says, well, I had Mrs. O'Connor's breast. And a thing of beauty it was, but it's useless in a fight. I shouldn't laugh at my own jokes. Mike Ricketts sitting here, riveted on the program. He's going to be telling us about the Habitat for Humanity. First of all, where'd you come from, Mike? Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Westfield, but I've lived here in Mayville now since 1975.
And your dad was very well known, Joe. He ran a supermarket over there for many years. It was Quality, right?
No, it was Ricketts Market, Westfield's.
Ricketts Market.
Westfield's little big store, a little independent grocery store.
And he lived to a ripe old age. I still remember him over there when we were doing pancakes years ago for the Masons.
92.
92. Well, Mike, what's your background? Did you go to college or go to school or whatever?
Yeah, I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and I worked for Chautauqua County for 35 years, the last 21 of which I was the director of probation here in Chautauqua County. Came on your show a couple of times in that capacity, and retired 7 years ago and was looking for something to occupy some of my time, and lo and behold, I discovered Habitat for Humanity. And
there you go. If you're physically active, your mind stays active.
Oh, absolutely.
To a lot of the philosophers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Habitat for Humanity sounds like a kind of a mouthful. What is Habitat for Humanity?
Actually, Habitat for Humanity is a nonprofit ecumenical Christian group built on the idea of providing housing for every man, woman, and child that's decent, safe, and affordable.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is.
A house
Yes,
is
it is.
pretty expensive these days, anyway.
It is.
Although, I just bought a house in Westfield for 25 grand. You can't go wrong on that big, comfortable house next to the fire hall. So, housing up here is pretty reasonable.
It is reasonable. We actually, our homes that we've been building are brand new homes. They're built to be very green and very energy efficient. We try to use materials that are manufactured in a way that protected the environment. We try to make the houses as airtight as possible, so it takes very little to heat, and we don't provide any kind of air conditioning, but we do have a kind of a natural cooling process built into the construction. Our houses cost about $65,000 to $70,000 to build, and that's just the material cost. And they're right around 1,000 square feet, so these are not big houses. These are small, economical houses, and a lot of people think that Habitat for Humanity builds these houses and then gives them to the families that have been selected to get a house. They aren't given to the families. The families pay for these houses, but they do it through a non-interest loan. They also, during the course of constructing the house, have to do what we call sweat equity. For every person in the family that's 18 years or older, they have to do 250 hours of sweat equity. So if you have a family that has maybe a mom and a dad, and they're both over 18, then they would have to work 500 hours of sweat equity in some capacity during the construction of that house. And of course, our houses are all built by volunteers. We don't have any paid employees. We are looking, if anybody out there is interested, we are looking for a retired contractor or someone who is pretty familiar with the building trades to work as a construction supervisor. There's so much involved in constructing a house. I have no construction background whatsoever, but those people that are involved in Habitat that do have a background in construction, we keep them busy all the time because you have to know what materials to have on site for the volunteers to use on a particular workday. You have to know at what stage of the construction process you're at in order to be able to continue the construction of the house, to make sure that it continues to go up and you don't lose a day's work because you're not prepared. You don't have the materials on site, or the people, the volunteers that show up, we don't have someone there to properly explain to them what needs to be done. So we are looking.
It's a pretty complicated process.
It is a very complicated process. I wasn't aware of that. You know, you see a house being built and you don't realize that you have to look at the timing of it and anticipate when to order, for instance, the roof trusses, when to order the roofing materials. All of those things come into play, and it's quite a science.
Where do you buy this stuff?
We buy our products, our materials from local businesses. We do business with Ad Lumber. We do business with Frederickson's in Casadega. We have a group up in Silver Creek, and they do business with Ad Lumber up there in that end of the county. And sometimes we end up going to Home Depot because it's the only place that we can find a particular material. But we do like to patronize our local family-owned businesses in Chautauqua County.
Do you get a discount because you're basically a charity?
We're a 501c3 organization, and we are a charitable organization, and we do get a discount from the local businesses.
Good.
Yes.
Well, now are you currently working on something?
We are about to, here in Mayville, we are about to start on a house at 7 Patterson Street, and it will be a ground-up build. It will be a new home. And Silver Creek is building the same house. They're about 3 or 4 weeks ahead of us in their construction process. So they've got the excavation done, and this next week they'll be starting to erect walls. We had a gentleman by the name of Ted First. They actually got a picture of the house there. That's great. A gentleman by the name of Ted First who does all of our kind of background design work, and then we have a couple of volunteer architects that help to develop the plans and put their seal of approval on it that you need for building permits, etc. So we hope to start construction of this house that you see up there on the screen. August 10th is our first day, and anybody who's interested in volunteering, all they need to do is show up at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's Saturday, August 10th. If we aren't there, it means that we weren't able to meet our scheduled kickoff date of August 10th. But the plan is to start construction on that date, and then we will work most every Saturday from 9 until 1. You don't have to be a skilled carpenter. You don't have to know anything about carpentry, as evidenced by myself getting involved in Habitat. We utilize strictly volunteers, and we use people of the whole breadth of the talent spectrum. We've had some older folks, some seniors who said, boy, I'd like to be able to help out Habitat in some way, and those people have ended up helping to provide refreshments for our group that works on Saturdays. We always take a moment to pause during our construction day and have a moment of reflection, and then enjoy some refreshments. Usually some great home baked goods and coffee.
Okay, no beer though.
No beer, no beer.
If somebody wanted to get in touch, maybe before this date of August, what was it?
August 10th.
10th, and where is it?
It's at 7 Patterson Street.
7 Patterson Street, that's in Mayville?
That's in Mayville, correct.
And if somebody wanted to double check, give them a phone number so they'll know.
Absolutely. They could call me, and my number is 753-7831. I'm in the phone book, real easy to find.
753-7831.
Yep. If you're in the north end of the county, feel free to give me a call, and I will get you connected with Dave or Marilyn Kuzawa, who are up in the north end of the county working on the Silver Creek house. So.
Okay, well, we're north, pretty much here too, Mayville, right?
Well, yeah, they're the Silver Creek's what I call the extreme north.
Far north.
We call ourselves the mid-county.
Okay. Mike Ricketts talking about Habitat for Humanity. Now, you say these houses are small, they're beautifully built up, they're green,
Yes.
as best as possible. Local stuff, local people, and most of the labor is provided by volunteers, no money here.
Correct.
They do it for sweat equity, and they don't get the house. Now, as you pointed out, well, first of all, what do you do for plumbers and electricians and specialty things like that?
We are blessed with some professional, what I would call professional plumbers. Dave Jett, who has Quality Mechanical, comes in and does all of our plumbing so far in our houses that we've done here in Mayville. We had Fry Electric, Joe Moynihan from Fry Electric, who wired our 2 houses. They're not going to be involved in this next house, but we have Ed Cannon, who is an electrician who works here locally, who's going to be helping us with the wiring in this 3rd house. So we're very blessed to have these very, very talented volunteers.
It is such a gift, really. Now, where have you built houses so far up here?
We built, we're starting this house at 7 Patterson Street. We built a home at 64 West Chautauqua Street, just down the road from here. And we also, in Hartfield, our first house was actually a gamble roof pole barn that we put a small addition on and converted it into a 3-bedroom house. We were able to pick up a piece of property at the tax sale down in Hartfield, and the house was one that you just couldn't possibly renovate. It was pretty much falling down. So we took the house down and cleared the lot, and there was this, maybe an 800 square foot gamble roof pole barn.
Gamble roof?
It's the barn roof.
Oh, okay.
Comes down. And they were able to put a small addition on and get it close to 1,000 square feet, and it's a 3-bedroom home now.
How about that? Is there some sort of minimum size, like 1,000 feet in the county, or what?
Well, usually Habitat International establishes the standard of approximately 1,000 square feet, and that's for your average size family. If we were to select a family that had 5 or 6 kids, we might have to go to a 4-bedroom house. But again, what we're trying to do is provide decent basic housing, no frills. These houses are not built with basements. Most of them, the 2 that we're doing, are built on slabs. This 3rd house that we're doing as a bit of a new construction technique, so new that because I haven't seen it or been involved with it enough, I can't even explain to you how we're doing it. But it's the foundation of the home is basically crushed limestone
Rather than
concrete, correct.
So don't say cement, concrete.
Right.
Cement is powder that goes into the concrete.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Well, how long have you been doing this? You said since you retired now, it's, what is it, 7 years?
Well, I've retired 7 years, but I've only been doing Habitat for about 4 years.
And you apparently get a lot of satisfaction out of it?
I do. I've always enjoyed giving back to the community in some form or fashion, and Habitat isn't the only thing I'm involved in.
What else are you involved in?
Well, I serve on the Westfield Hospital Foundation Board. I'm also very active at our church, the First Presbyterian Church in Westfield. I'm chairing the Chicken Barbecue, which is a week from today.
Yeah, that's for the Arts and Crafts Show, right?
Yeah, in conjunction with the Arts and Crafts Show. And
I've never seen so many chickens.
Yeah.
You must do 1,000 chickens. I don't know what it is.
We used to do 1,000. We cut it back to only 800. So
And they're all beautifully barbecued, right?
we do enough chickens. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'll bet you do. Right out in the park, in the beautiful little park there in Westfield, in the middle of Westfield. What do they call that park now? Moore Park?
Moore Park. Yep.
Still Moore Park.
Moore Park. Yep.
Incidentally, when it was given to the village, it was given with the understanding there'd be a church on each of the 4 corners. Well, 2 of them took it, St. Peter's Episcopalian Church and the Presbyterian Church on the opposite corner, but they're 2 wide open corners.
Yeah.
And I see the farmer's market, this is Saturday, they have every Saturday the farmer's market there now in the summer. They're going active again.
Yes, they are.
Very busy.
Yes, they are.
A lot of Amish stuff there. And I just bought some maple syrup for $40 a gallon. Now that, in this day and age, is a very good price.
Correct.
Back when I was a kid, you used to pay $8 a gallon, and that was for the amber, the darker, which I loved. The darker has more flavor.
I should
Go ahead.
let you know that we do operate an office actually in this building. I don't know if operating an office is the correct terminology. It's not. There's not a person there to answer the phone, but you can call if you're a individual who would think you might be eligible for a Habitat home. You could call the office. The number is 269-7772.
Or call your number, 753-7831, right?
Correct. We have closed the applications for the house on 7 Patterson Street, but there will be future houses, and there'll be times when we'll be taking future applications. The only initial requirement is to fill out an application. You have to have the financial means to be able to pay a mortgage on this house. It is an interest-free mortgage, so it's much less than what you would pay.
Cheaper than student loans, that's for sure. We got a caller.
Correct.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning. I want to tell you that I think you're doing great work, Mr. Ricketts.
Mike, please.
I have a question for you. If someone wants to volunteer and things do happen on the job site and they get hurt, how is that covered?
We do have insurance through Habitat International, and it will cover most anything. We do try to use all the safety requirements that the law requires. Some of the volunteers harass me for harassing them to get their harnesses on when they're doing like roof work and things where you're over 10 feet off the ground. If you're on a scaffolding, etc., you are required to wear a safety harness. So we do try to practice good safety techniques and good safety policies. So.
There you go,
Great.
caller.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that's
You're
a
welcome.
good question. So you're insured by the Internet. This is a big group then.
Oh yes, Habitat International.
Okay.
Yep.
Where are they organized? I mean, where do they have their main office?
I should know that.
They didn't tell you.
Well, Habitat originated out of Americus, Georgia, years ago. But you caught me off guard. I'm not sure where Habitat International is. I only deal with them over the website, Reed. They could be out anywhere. So
floating in cyberspace, wherever
exactly.
they are. They might not have a place.
No, they do. They do. It's a very big organization, and we are actually part of the Chautauqua Area Habitat for Humanity, which is our nonprofit corporation name, and I also serve on that board along with several other folks. So we are reviewing what happens on a county-wide basis. I would also like to mention, and I'm not sure if we'll be able to reach the Jamestown area from here, but we are looking for people to get involved in Jamestown Habitat for Humanity. When Habitat was first started here in Chautauqua County, it actually originated, and most of the homes were built or renovated in the greater Jamestown area, both the Frewsburg area and the city of Jamestown. And our county has one of the highest rates of older housing in the country, and there's a lot of houses out there that need renovation, or in some cases tearing down and new houses built. So if there's anybody that's interested in working with Habitat in the Jamestown area, we're trying to get that group reestablished, and you could again call me at that 753-7831 number, and I'll be glad to connect you with the people in that particular area.
Okay, you mentioned several times renovation. Now, my vision of Habitat for Humanity is you bought old messed up houses that were worthless and renovated them and made them useful and new. But you apparently are now just building new houses around here.
Well, in Silver Creek and in the Mayville area, we've been building new houses the last couple of houses that we built. Actually, not the house that Silver Creek's currently working on, but the one that they just completed a year ago, last December, was a renovation, and they renovated the house and basically did the best job they could in terms of retrofitting it to be energy efficient and using green materials. We find that it's much easier to build from the ground up. There's so much of the housing that we're running into is so dilapidated and so in need of repair that it's less costly to tear that house down and build a new house on that lot.
Okay. We have a phone call. You want to take it?
Absolutely.
Hey, caller, thank you for waiting.
Good morning. I have a three-part question. The first question I have is, how many houses at a time do you work on? The second part would be specifically, how far ahead do you plan for your houses? I mean, are you thinking about your next property yet? And I can't think of the third part, so I'll just let you answer those two.
These seniors we forget a lot, you know.
As far as our Mayville Mid-County affiliate, we have a volunteer base that allows us to work on one house at a time, and it takes us a little over a year, sometimes a little longer than that, depending on how the construction goes and the kind of weather that we're having, etc. It takes us a little bit over a year to complete that house. In some of your larger habitat areas, say Buffalo's Habitat for Humanity, they might be working on a half a dozen houses at a time because they have more volunteers to draw from. We're still kind of a fledgling organization here in Mayville, and so we're doing one at a time and hopefully doing that one right. We're always looking for the next location. This particular piece of property that we're starting to build on Patterson Street was on the, I'll call it commercial real estate market, not in the sense that it's commercially zoned, but it was being marketed by a realtor, and we were fortunate enough to make a ridiculously low offer based on what they were asking for the piece of property, and they accepted it. And sometimes we're able to pick up pieces of property through the county tax sale. Sometimes properties even donated to us. We've had a house donated to us in the Jamestown area. That's one of the reasons why we're trying to get a group reorganized down in Jamestown. We've had property and houses donated in the North County area. We haven't had any here in our respective area yet, but for all intents and purposes, we're always looking at where's the next build going to occur, where's the next house going to be built, so that we're ready to move forward. We've finished our last house the 1st of December last year, and it's pretty unusual for us to go this much time into August before starting the next house. Ordinarily, it would be only a matter of maybe taking a break through the winter and then starting the house in the spring. We've had a little bit of a delay with this particular house, but we're going to get started here real soon in the next couple weeks.
One of the big expenses is blueprints. Do you have to pay for them, or who covers that? What do you do for that?
Well,
The planning prints and all that.
as I mentioned before, we have 2 architects who donate their time to help draw the prints. Also, the gentleman I mentioned before, Ted First, is very skilled in his ability to make drawings and to develop the house plans. So basically, that's done volunteer. Sometimes we are able to get the duplicate copies that we need donated by different firms to do those prints, but generally all of our prints are working documents, are what they call working plans, are done by volunteers.
So basically, you're getting an awful lot of help, and we have some phone calls. You want to take another
Absolutely.
one? Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, caller, for waiting. You're on.
Oh, good morning, Reed. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
This is Linda Spalding, calling about the Office for the Aging. It's good to see you on the show, and I think Habitat for Humanity is a wonderful project.
Thank you.
He was on the show in the past, but we were wearing a different hat. Then he was a cop of sorts. He ran the parole department up here, right?
Probation, please.
Whatever it is.
Please, don't get us confused with parole.
What is the difference between probation and parole?
We did that every time I was on the show before.
And I still don't know.
Probation is a sentence that's imposed by the court. Parole is a conditional release that comes after somebody's been incarcerated in a state prison.
Okay, there you go. Those people that are facing parole. You now know. Hey, Linda, what were you saying now? Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you so bluntly.
No, that's fine. I was just talking about Habitat for Humanity. I know a number of people that are volunteers for that project, and some of them go overseas. Some of them have gone to India, and they do great work.
They have them in India?
Oh yeah, it's international.
No
It's
kidding.
international.
Holy mackerel, Andy.
I want to say there's a Habitat house being completed something like every 30 seconds somewhere in the world.
Really?
It's a huge, huge organization. A lot of people involved.
Okay, Linda, that's information that's very interesting.
Yes, and they've told very interesting stories upon their return about the culture and what has happened. Well, I'm just calling about the services with the Chautauqua County Office for the Aging, and of course we have the Senior Employment Program and other programs, and if people are interested, they should call 753-4471 at the Mayville office.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that information. How's the lake look over there? Must be pretty nice.
It is.
Have you found any chestnuts?
No.
That's the new threat to our lake is the water chestnuts.
Oh, yes, I read about that.
Yeah, they're not the kind you can eat, though.
No.
You know, the kind that come in the little cans, the little white things. They ain't that kind. These, and then apparently the fish haven't learned to eat them yet either.
Yeah, well, with our international market and people traveling back and forth all over the world, we get all these different species of things that we didn't encounter before.
Right, zebra mussels. Oh yeah, and now they've got the cobies, I think they call them, something like that. It's a eel-like fish.
Oh.
And they're creeping around. And then I'm waiting for those jumping carp.
Well, I hope they sing when they jump, too.
Well, they're pretty big, and you can eat them. They're particularly good when you smoke them, I might add. So anyway, how's the doggies doing? She's got 2 dogs.
They're doing fine. They don't seem to be affected by the heat. They've got a nice sleek haircut for the summer.
Okay, but they can't play the piano yet.
No, they're not as talented as Squirty, but they do other things.
Okay, well, Linda, thank you for calling in, and I hope you catch your muskie this year.
I hope so, too.
Yeah, those are big fish. You know, the littlest one you can keep is 40 inches.
Yep.
And that's a female. The males don't get that big, so what you're doing is eating all the females. You leave the males there because they're under 40 inches. What did you say? I heard somebody, one of our callers in the background there.
Well, have a great week.
Thanks
Thanks,
very much, Linda, and thanks for calling in. And again, callers, we have a few minutes left. Then if anybody wants to call in and make a comment, say something nice about someone, say something not so nice about someone, that's your business. 753-JACK or 753-5225. Get you in your magic carpet out into the universe. Mike Ricketts sitting here telling us a little bit about Habitat for Humanity. I think one of the questions everybody wants to answer, how do you get one? How do you get the house? What are these requirements? How much money do you have to put up? What do you got to do?
Well, you don't have to put up any money. Your down payment is your actual sweat equity. The fact that you are there working on the house hand in hand with the volunteers. Like I mentioned before, you have to do 250 hours for every person in the family that's going to be awarded this home. They have to do 250 hours of what we call sweat equity or sweat labor to contribute, and that in effect is their down payment. We determine a family's need by going through the family selection committee that's going to choose homeowners based on their level of need for a home. We've had some families who have just been living in deplorable conditions in a rental situation, and so many times, particularly with today's financial situation that exists in the country, people are just not able to accumulate what they need for a down payment for a home. By going through Habitat for Humanity, there's no down payment required. You're able to have a nice, decent home, and it's also interest-free. You pay a mortgage based on what the cost was to build the house, but there's no interest tacked on to that like there is a conventional
So it's
mortgage
financially
loan.
manageable
It-
for
yes.
a lot of people. I know people up here, believe it or not, who are living in campers
Yes.
because there's
Right.
no work, there's no
Yep.
property, nothing. And maybe this might help someone out, but you have to have a job, right?
Well, you have to have a source of income. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
That's going to enable you to make the mortgage payment. The big struggle that we have now is we build these homes, and like I said before, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of around $65,000 in materials to build one of these homes. And that establishes the amount of the mortgage payment. But the assessed value is usually much higher than
So you're getting a
$65,000.
rare bargain.
So you are getting a real bargain, except for the fact that you're going to have to pay taxes on that home as well.
Yeah.
So we have to factor in the cost of the mortgage plus the anticipated cost of the taxes, and are they able to handle that payment to be able to make regular monthly
We have
payments
someone
to
who
us?
wants to ask a question. You're on, caller.
Hey, good morning, Reed. Good morning, Mike. I just have two quick questions. The first question would be, when you volunteer, do you work every day, or do you only work certain days of the week? And second question, there's a famous president that's involved with the Habitat for Humanity. I think it's Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter, correct.
And but I'll hang up and let you talk about how long you work, if it's like every day or if you only work once a week. Or so. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. We work here in the Mayville area. We've been working pretty much a Saturday schedule from 9 a.m. in the morning to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That enables people to enjoy their families and participate in other activities after 1 o'clock. So as we get closer to the completion of the house, when the building is enclosed and we don't have to depend so much on the weather, a lot of times we'll do what we call midweek work sessions. And the great thing about Habitat is we don't require people to work a certain amount of time except for the homeowners, the prospective homeowners. If you're a volunteer, you can come and you can work 2 hours, you can work 4 hours, you can work 1 hour. You could even come and work 30 minutes if that's all that you're available. There's no minimum required time. We have a great bunch of volunteers, and there's a number of them that put in well over 100 hours on each house. And that they're repeat volunteers. They keep coming back and helping us out more and more. Now I've forgotten his second question, but those are our work days is on Saturday. Reed, do you remember his second question?
Carter, Jimmy Carter.
Oh, Jimmy Carter, yeah. Jimmy Carter is the president who made Habitat famous. He kind of adopted Habitat. Habitat was actually founded by a gentleman by the name of Millard Fuller, and it really found its place on the map when Jimmy Carter decided to adopt it as one of his favorite charities, and you have all those shots of him swinging the hammer and him and his wife helping to build Habitat houses. So a lot of people think it was Jimmy Carter's idea, but it was really founded by Millard Fuller, who was a businessman who gave up his business and sold his business and decided to organize Habitat for Humanity, where people could pitch in. And if you're a 60s child, you remember the days of the communes. It was kind of that initial way of doing things. People would come together and
60s, 70s,
yeah. Oh yes, it was actually Habitat was founded in 1942.
Oh, that's a while back.
Yep.
World War II, right in the middle of it.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, does that help you? He says yes.
Okay. Very good.
Jimmy Carter, one of our great presidents. I don't know, a lot of people think he was a weak president. I think he was a very strong president because of what he didn't do in many cases. And God bless him, he's been putting out a lot of time and money, and that's not just peanuts.
Yeah. I should say that Habitat, the actual official Habitat, started in 1965.
That's about the time I figured, yeah.
The Koinonia Farm in Americus, Georgia, started in 1942, and that was the kind of the initial idea or concept of neighbors helping neighbors build their houses and sustainable housing. But we'd be happy to have anyone volunteer with us, whether it's baking a dozen cookies for Saturday's refreshments or coming out and working on the house. All you need to do is call me at 753-7831, and I'll get your contact information. I should also add that we are a nonprofit organization, as we mentioned before, and if you would like to help Habitat financially, you can do so by sending a donation to Chautauqua Area Habitat for Humanity, 2 Academy Street, Mayville, New York, 14757, and your contribution, no matter how small or how big, would be greatly appreciated. We need to raise annually about $25,000 to $30,000 to help sustain Habitat for Humanity and help to be able to continue to build a house a year.
Where do you get that dough? Just donations, or is there any other form?
When Chautauqua Area Habitat for Humanity first started, we were blessed with some contributions from the area foundations and corporations, and that kind of set up a startup fund. We then build the houses, and then we collect the mortgage, which helps to sustain that startup fund. It's kind of like a revolving fund.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening is that due to the cost of materials going up and the increased costs that we're experiencing, we need to, and the fact that instead of building 1 house a year as a county-wide organization, we're now building 2 and may soon be building 3 houses a year.
So things are working out very well.
Things are working well, but we're going to need additional dollars to support that production rate, I guess you say.
And volunteers too, I can
Yes.
see that. Mike Ricketts talking about Habitat for Humanity. Mike, we're running out of time. I just got this message, and you know what that means. We're out of here. I want to give you 30 seconds just to clean up.
I guess in 30 seconds I would say I hope I've shared information with you that gets you excited about Habitat for Humanity and interested in coming out and working as a volunteer. It doesn't, we do have to comply with New York State labor laws in that we can't have anybody under the age of 18 on what we call an active job site. But if you'd like to volunteer, if you'd like to support us financially, give me a call, 753-7831. Thanks.
If you're under 18, you can probably bake cookies, anyway.
Well, if we do have certain days during the construction process where we just bring out the kids to help clean the site or to help paint. We just can't have any construction equipment, saws or anything of that type operating on the site. Yeah, they can't go off the ground. In
Chuck
terms of
Kelsey, thank you. He developed this programming. I want to thank Devon Taylor, Chris Burt, Randy Burt, Chris Ramaker, Jeff Zook, our chief engineer right now, and Don Zenz occasionally, and especially Doc Hamels. I want to, sorry, last caller, we didn't get your call in. Will you come back, won't you, sometime?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, he comes in every 10 years. It's been that long, I think. Okay, thank you, Mike Ricketts, and thank you, callers, and all the people out there. Get out and dance and sing in this beautiful weather. May all that is proud and true and noble abide with you. I'm Reed Powers.